So JP Morgan are one of the biggest financial services companies in the world. They are probably known best in America for being an actual bank. So like HSBC and Barclays are over here. They have just opened a Chase UK bank. So they're branching out to that over here as well. But as well as the banking side, they deal with financial institutions. So they work with clients to help them make money with regards to corporate actions, asset servicing, looking after their money and their stocks, basically. So my name is Debbie Harris and I work at JP Morgan.
Today, Debbie is going to give us some insights of what it's like to work at JP Morgan, answer some questions students have or may have about what it's like to work at JP Morgan. So what is your position at JP Morgan?
So my current position is a project manager.
And what does that mean?
So that means I'm responsible for the end-to-end life cycle of a project. So kind of the definition of a project is that it does actually have a start and a finish. So it's not an ongoing sort of piece of work. You have one project, you complete it, and then you move on to the next. Yeah.
Who are JP Morgan?
So JP Morgan are one of the biggest financial services companies in the world. They are probably known best in America for being an actual bank. So like HSBC and Barclays are over here. They have just opened a Chase UK bank. So they're branching out to that over here as well. But as well as the banking side, they deal with financial institutions. So they work with clients to help them make money with regards to corporate actions, asset servicing, looking after their money and their stocks, basically.
So how long have you been working at JP Morgan?
So this is my 4th year. But it's my 2nd stint. So I was at JP Morgan for 5 years, a number of years ago as well.
What's it like working at JP Morgan?
So it's a wonderful campus. So I'm on Bournemouth campus, so they call it Chase side. It's a huge building, houses about 4,000 employees. And the grounds are very green and lovely. There's a lot of sort of sporting activities that you can partake in, you know, sort of in your lunch break or your spare time. And so it's nice, you know, if you are having a bit of a stressful day, and you can literally just walk outside, breathe in the fresh air and the lovely surroundings. So it's never sort of been a chore to sort of go into work, certainly from an aesthetical point of view. From the rest of it, there is so much opportunity at JP Morgan. There's a number of different sort of lines of business. So you've got technology, you've got operations, you've got compliance, you've got audit, you've got sales. It's a huge array of different places you can work with different job types. And you can also move globally as well.
If we now go to the how do you say, getting the student's kind of point of view when looking at JP Morgan, what advice would you give to a student that wanted to get a job at JP Morgan? How do you think they would be the best pathway for them to get into JP Morgan?
So depending on where the student was in their student career, there's a couple of different ways. So if you had already graduated, then we do have a scheme that you can join. We have apprenticeships that you can utilise. We have internships that are a couple of months as well, if you wanted to sort of go in and get a flavour for, you know, sort of how everything works. We've got just your normal route in if you were to apply for a job sort of straight from university. And we also have a scheme where you can get your degree while working full-time at JP Morgan. So that's in partnership currently with Exeter University, I believe. So you would work 4 days, and 1 day is designated to your university work, and you have to pass your courses to remain working at JP Morgan. So it must be quite difficult for people on it, because they need to maintain actually doing their job while studying for their degree. But certainly, if you've got a fantastic job at the end of it with all that experience plus your degree, it's a well-utilised scheme and quite hard to get onto.
So say if a student was successful getting on to the graduate scheme, and they had to have an interview for JP Morgan, what interview advice would you give a student and or individual that is trying to apply for JP Morgan?
Sure. So with regards to interviewing, now obviously JP Morgan know that you are not going to know the ins and outs unless you've done, I don't know, some type of business at university. They like the fact that then they're more than happy to hire people that don't have any financial services backgrounds, because they do look for transferable skills and you as a person. So you should still do some research, so a little bit about the company, what they do, just so that we know that you have a bit of an understanding about what you're potentially coming into. If you know anybody that works at the area that you're looking at going into, so if you live in Bournemouth, or somebody, if it is Bournemouth that you're talking about, reach out to them, see, what they can let you know about the company and how they work. Make sure that your CV is as impactful as possible. So you really want to make sure that you're sort of showcasing any achievements, anything where you've gone above and beyond. Again, I appreciate most of it is going to be from an educational perspective, but if you have had any working at weekends or any, I don't know, year out or anything like that, then always make sure that you put that on there, because it could be useful. We suggest that when you're sort of answering questions, you try to sort of do it in a way that's going to be structured. So, everybody's nervous, right? You can get a little bit tongue-tied when you're in an interview. So we do sort of say, really have a think about, the situation that you're trying to talk about, that you the task that you actually did, what the actions were that you took, and what was the result of that action. Because that really does help an interviewer understand a little bit more about you and how you go about, completing tasks, dealing with certain situations.
If we now go into some CV advice, what are the things that stand out to an interviewer and or JP Morgan in a CV?
So, although you would think that you would want the CV to be sort of, I don't know, maybe like snappy and, a bit busy with stuff, actually, if you think how many people apply for jobs at any company, but also at JP Morgan at any one time, and you were a really busy hiring manager, you want a really nice, succinct, short, sharp, black writing on white paper, CV, so that it's very easy and quick for a hiring manager to, scroll down what somebody has written to see whether or not they feel that they've got the experience or maybe the attitude that you can sometimes get from a CV to then take forward for an interview. And
what about soft skills? Do you think this is something not really many students are taught and or talked about very publicly? Do you think soft skills play an impact of getting? Because do you think soft skills will be the difference between getting a job and not getting a job?
Certainly, soft skills are important, I would say, in any job that you go into. And when you're at JP Morgan, they would always look to support you with those soft skills and help you, improve on yourself and those particular soft skills. Plus, it's sort of something that's really common to almost every job. So if you're talking something like, I don't know, time management, or, you know, team working, you know, everybody has to do those things, and they have to do them well, you know, in order to sort of succeed, just even on a daily basis, let alone, you know, sort of any longer. So if you were thinking, you know, how do I resolve conflict? Are you a creative thinker? You know, places like JP Morgan love innovation. You know, they always want to be at the forefront of how things are thought about. And if you've got a, you know, you can improve and increase your creative thinking, then even those sorts of things are useful.
Is there anything else you think a student should know about working JP Morgan as a company, or anything surrounding JP Morgan?
I guess it depends what somebody is looking for in a job. You know, I think JP Morgan, sort of as I mentioned earlier, has got such a plethora of job types and areas within the company itself that somebody, you know, could work. You could sort of see your whole career there if you wanted to. And you could, you know, move between job types. You could move function. You can move laterally. You've got the chance for promotion. You can even look at global relocation, you know, if everything sort of fell into place. So, you know, it is a company that, as far as I'm concerned, you know, does provide me with, you know, challenges. It provides me with career development. You know, they're very keen on making sure that we really cover like diversity, equity and inclusion in everything that we do. And so, yeah, I mean, it's probably worth people having a little read up, you know, see what the company does as a whole, and then see maybe what the different branches do within either just the UK or abroad as well, to get, you know, maybe a bit more of a flavour in general, because there's so many things that you could be involved in.
As a final question, do you think a degree matters for JP Morgan?
So, I mean, I'd probably have to ask them if I. So I've got a degree, but it had, apart from a little tiny bit of business that I had in there, it wasn't necessarily relevant. I know lots of people work at JP Morgan that don't have degrees. So it's tricky.
It depends. So it's what an individual basis, maybe. Or...
Yeah, I would say it certainly wouldn't. It wouldn't stop you getting a job if you didn't have a degree. If your degree was specialised, so if you'd done, I mean, something like technology, for example, again, you don't have to have tech experience to work in tech, but just from a sort of, I guess, not common sense perspective, but if you had a degree in an area of a company that you wanted to work in, then that's also not going to do you any harm, right?